Okay. All right. So let's do this. All right. So Get Real, Volume 8. Thank you, Scott. Any more things? Chimes, service animals. Okay. Volume 8. All right. Nice. Thanks for attending. Okay. You've never been?
Never.
Welcome to the fray.
Same.
What's your name?
Well, I'm new. I just joined Keller Williams like last week, 2 weeks ago, and I saw this class in the calendar. I didn't know what it was about.
Yeah.
So,
You're in for a good surprise. Are you a new agent?
well, I was with Avanti way before
Mhm.
for 3.5 years.
Oh, wow,
In
okay.
Weston. So, but I'm definitely new in Keller Williams.
Okay. So anyway, this class a little bit different. Um, God. I think I know how to operate this. Does anybody know how to operate this? Why doesn't it work?
You click next on the computer.
Next on the computer?
Yeah. Or there's an arrow up, down, or something.
Yeah,
down. That's right.
No.
It has to be a big.
Oh, I see.
No.
So, let me
see.
Wait. Okay, I can do it. I got it.
Okay, here. It's working.
Huh. Okay. All right, so my name's Jay Kapit, since you don't know me. Most of you guys do. Why am I starting the class? Why did I start the class? I have a interest in this office, so it benefits me to see agents do well. And I think that as an agent, people do better and are more productive when there are other agents that are productive. You know, when you're in an office where, even if you're at the top of your game, if you're in an office where there's low energy and nobody's producing, it's not really a catalyst to help you produce more. So I would really like to see a lot of people doing well in the office because I think it would raise everybody up. Plus, it's a training company. That's what they do. They teach. And at the heart, we're learning based. And the people that really do succeed at Keller Williams are learning based. So if you join from Avanti to Keller, the difference is going to be in the classes and in the culture. You're still.
And one of the reasons I moved is because I like Avanti and they are good, but the closest office to me was Weston. So I really couldn't join the meetings or anything because it was too far and I don't work in that market. I work around here because I move over here. And I tell you, I've been 2 weeks for Keller Williams, and really, I think I found what I was looking for, which is what you are mentioning. I want to be around people all the time. I've been here in the office trying to attend the most classes I can, talking with people. So definitely.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So now in this particular class, which I know everybody loves this slide, we really kind of get real about where we are in our own personal business. So in every other class, you don't really have to divulge what you're up to. If you're selling things, if you have listings, if you have pendings, what your volume is, all that stuff. In this class, I have kind of incorporated this slide, which is probably why it's so well attended, because so many people want to divulge where they're at. If I didn't have this slide in here, I think there would be more people. But I always end every class saying, come back and I know you're going to have more listings and more sales than you had 2 weeks ago. Who knows if that's true, but I hope it is. It's true for me. And so I hope it is for you guys. And so I'll start. Okay. So 16 years I've been in this amazing, God-forsaken business. I have 12 listings, and I have 5 pendings. And I'm gonna rate myself like a 6 or 7, because I should have more listings. And the rating is not. If you've ever, do you know Jay Cermak yet?
Yes.
Okay, so if Jay Cermak is like a master on social media, and he posted something that I recommend that you guys really subscribe to, which is stay in your own lane. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing, because it's a recipe for disaster. I have 12 listings and 5 pendings, and for me, I know where I am relative to where I was, where I need to be. It's not a comparison as to who else I'm competing. I'm competing with myself. Okay. Purpose of the class is to do better than you were doing last week, last month, last year. As long as you can genuinely say, I'm making gains, I'm doing better, and you're not lying to yourself, you're not rationalizing, then you're good. It has nothing to do with, there are people that I know that have 50 listings. For me, if I was going to compare myself to somebody with 50 listings, 12 is not that good. But if I get another listing next week, I've increased my inventory by 10%. If you have 0 and you get 1, you've increased by 100%. So you have to look at it internally and not beat yourself up about it and not compare yourself to anybody else and all that nonsense. Who's my next victim?
I'll go. My name is Jeff Freeman. Been in the business at Keller Williams about 3 months. Did a little bit of Century 21 in Michigan. I'm trying to find out all I can about investment property. I'd like to add that to my retirement portfolio. And I'm trying to figure out more about real estate as much as I can before I jump in. And also, I'd love maybe not this class, but some class, maybe if you could expound the difference between, your take on commercial. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that also. I'd rate myself a 7, probably because I might be overthinking things too much. I'm kind of analytical, logical, got to have all my ducks in a row, So maybe 6, I don't know. But I've been thinking then too much, I think, than doing. So.
Next.
My name is Anna. I've been 4 years in business. I have 2 listings as of right now, 1 pending, and absolutely nothing in the pipeline for the next 45 days. So if I rate myself, -3.
-3. Okay, we were going 0 to 10. So,
Mine is 3.
but what the thing is that from that perspective, that's the reason to have a ton of listings. Although because you're never going to know when things are going to sell, but at least you have an opportunity to kind of ladder it out and not have these gaps of pendings where now, based on the inventory that you have now, that because you don't have the inventory, you need to get the listing and start from there to even envision when that's going to close. So the goal for you is real simple: get listings. Period. The end.
You just gotta get working on it.
Who's next?
What are we doing? I just walked in. Oh, Melissa, 3.5 years in the business. I have 2 current listings active and 4 pending. And I have 2 listings pending to list.
Oh, nice.
So, but that's it. Oh, based on my current situation, I'll rate myself a 5.
Okay, 5's fair.
Yeah.
Scott.
I'll say this first because I haven't been here in a couple months. in the last conversation we all had in the group was incremental growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just pushing forward with a step at a time.
Yep.
So at that time, I had 2 listings and 2 buyers. Now I have 4 listings, 3 listings coming soon, and 4 buyers.
So that's awesome. Do you have any pendings?
No.
All right. So let's break that down, because number one, that's great because that's growth. Number two, in my world, that metric means that you need more listings because you need to get something pending.
Mhm.
All right. And so number three, can you put your finger on what you attribute the escalation to?
Couple things. One is,
Be more succinct than Mike Trelongo.
gotcha. I taught him everything he knows.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
First of all, I'm a mastery coaching client with weekly accountability, and that's helped tremendously.
So you're sticking with this coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my third one.
All right.
I've been doing that for 16 months.
Good for you.
So that's, I mean, what else to say besides that?
Right.
And waking up.
You don't have to say anything else if you're attributing the mastery to that.
That and waking up, and it's weekly accountability with regard to my mindset and what I'm thinking and being intentional with little steps. So a combination of mastery coaching, me waking up and not saying, oh God, I got so much to do in life and in business,
Mm-hmm.
just taking a couple motions forward. It's the cumulative effect of doing things over time that are now kind of coming to fruition with regard to contacts and reaching out to people or otherwise.
Right.
This is I didn't go out and call a bunch of expireds on January 1st, and I got all these listings, and I did door knockings the next week, and I got all these. This was
follow up and just right. All right, so it's good. All right, Craig.
Am I
Yeah.
rating myself? Probably 6 or 7.
All right, so we're moving up. Craig.
My name is Craig. I've been in the business about 3.5 years. I have 1 listing, 5 pendings. I'll give myself a 3.
So obviously, to have that many pendings is great. You're obviously in a good price point. And then why do you think you only have 1 listing?
I was in the belief that I was going to have more listings, but they didn't come through.
Okay.
It's part of it. I can blame myself.
Well, who else are you going to blame?
Well, I can blame myself on everything, but no, they went with another realtor.
Right, but what I'm saying is like, it's not a trick question. What I'm saying is if you have 5 pendings, okay, you can market just around those pendings.
Yeah.
When you call people, I mean, you're not afraid to call. You're not afraid to door knock. That's what I would be doing. I would be talking about how everything I get, I sell. Right? Because obviously that's not a lie. You know, your issue, like Ada's, is inventory.
100%.
Not selling them. You know, if you have 10 listings and no pendings, you have other issues, you know, pricing, you know, a bunch of other things. That doesn't seem to be the issue with you. The issue is that you're not, in my opinion, you're not being aggressive enough getting your message across. And you have a message, a personal message. You don't have to worry about talking about collectively our office. You have 5 things of your own. That's an easy message to convey. That's not a cold call. That's a warm, I just want to give you the information. I just sold this house. I just sold this condo. You should be utilizing those things. It's much harder when you don't have sales to pitch. If you have 5 pendings, use that. And just whatever your method is to reach out to people, I would feel a real sense of urgency to utilize that to I mean, think about it. You get one listing, you've increased your inventory by 100%. So if I'm you, I'm not closing the door on this week until I have another listing. Like by Friday 5 p.m., you should have another listing. That should be the goal. Yeah.
Right. You know,
You know. Right. My name is Ronald Jones. I've been in the business 16 years. I have 5 listings, total about 2.1 million. I got 1 pending deal. I have 2 buyers I'm currently working with. I rate myself as a 1, mainly because I don't do shit. Just like
You're keeping it real.
I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. You know, family reunion was pretty eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
You hear this stuff all the time in our classes, John, and we're reading our class. But until I commit to putting a game plan together and actually sticking to it,
Yeah.
my business is always going to be subject to my sphere reaching out to me as opposed to me reaching out to my sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, come to sell our house. Hey,
Yeah.
That's my business.
Uh-huh.
I have hired an ISA who calls expires for me, and through her, I was able to get one of those listings that I mentioned. So that's proven to be fruitful over the past couple of months. She started in December. But the only reason I hired her to do the calls was because I couldn't commit myself to doing them, or I was too lazy to do them, or I did not want to do them, so I let her do it. I think I'd be better. I know the paper is better than me calling in. I speak better English. I have more access to information than she would have if you're fortunate enough to get into a phone call with one of these expireds, because you have pictures in front of you, everything. So, bottom line is I give myself a 1. I barely have a pulse. But coming back from family reunion, really trying to.
All right. Listen.
That's it.
And look, I'm going to touch on some of that today because it's relative to the topic. I think, what did you say, 5 listings? I mean, I think with 5 listings, 1 is a little harsh, but I get it.
Well, as I said before, I was with Avanti Way for 3.5 years. Just a couple of weeks in Keller Williams, landing here and hoping I take off from here.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm working with an investor who definitely wants to buy 1 property, maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
Working with another couple of buyers, talking to Aspire. I'm hoping to get to it.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the company.
Thank you.
If you need any help, I'm sure anybody would be willing to lend a hand. Gonzalo?
Gonzalo, almost 4 years in the business, 5 days. 2 active listings, 6 pending, and 4.
4? Okay. All right. So let's talk about today's topic. All right. Now, it's pretty broad, so I'm going to make it much easier. What I want to talk about from family reunion. First of all, who went to family reunion? Okay, so we got 9 people here, and half of them went. So that's pretty good. I would tell you that if you have 0 listings, 0 pendings, 0 experience, 0 money for a trip, you should still go to family reunion. It's that important. Okay? And I will also tell you that watching family reunion on a screen from here versus being in the mix is completely different. Okay? Okay.
Why is that?
Because most of family reunion is about engaging. And you can't experience that without going.
I would say it's a akin to the difference in watching a basketball game on television, being there in person, feeling the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you can't appreciate what's going on. It's not enough that the slides. You need to be able to talk to people. You need to be able to form relationships. You need to be able to see who you're talking to, on Facebook, from Atlanta, from Boston, you need to really figure out if you really vibe with these people.
Another quick thing too is that you also get to engage with the presenters. They stick around after they teach a class and you go and talk to them. It's a question. You can't do that.
Plus, there's 3,000 breakout sessions.
Yeah, tons.
Which are they're totally
Yep.
subject specific that you're not just seeing. It's just not the main stage for an hour and a half, and then you go and party in Dallas.
We do that too.
That's after.
So for you guys that don't know that much about Family Reunion, I'm going to explain it to you in 30 seconds. It's 3 to 4 days of 15 to 20,000 agents from KW all in one spot. And there's breakouts, and you listen to Gary Keller and his vision for the company. It's a wild event. And you choose what breakouts and what seminars you want to go to. I choose based on the speakers, not necessarily the content, because I want to hear certain people talk and explain certain things. Some people choose content. If you want to learn about social media, you go to a bunch of social media breakouts. There's a few speakers that I like to hear. One of them is Jay Papasan, who wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. He's a really good speaker. It's easy for me to understand what he says. So I went to something, and this was what he opened up with. All right. So, and he is so good at this. I'm a lawyer and I'm a writer. This guy is a major writer. Okay. And so when he writes things, they really resonate with me. And so when he wrote this and then explained it, I really felt like I could figure out where I was within this. Okay. So he's got like these 4 steps. So you have unconscious incompetence to consciously competent, incompetent. And then that allows you to, you need help, which allows you to get to consciously competent, ultimately getting to that point in which it's so ingrained that to a point where you're unconsciously competent. So obviously it's not the easiest thing to understand, but if you put it in context, it's pretty easy to understand. So unconscious incompetence, that's just somebody walking around aimlessly, doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Okay. You figure out that you don't know what you're doing. Okay. So you get help. And that gets you to be competent in a conscious way. But the goal is to get unconsciously competent, okay? And the only way to do that is through habit, reps, over. That's why the scripts and role play, this. So you don't have to think about it. Now, his example was interesting. The unconscious incompetence was the learning driver, okay? Doesn't know how to drive, doesn't know where to go, okay? The conscious competent driver is the learned driver, still doesn't know where to go, needs the maps, the this, the that. The unconscious is doing it so long that you're texting and you're this, and somehow you make it there because it's ingrained at this point, okay? How did I get from point A to point B? I don't even know, because I was doing everything I wasn't supposed to do, but somehow I got here. That unconscious competence, he obviously ended that by saying, please don't text and drive. But you ever get somewhere and you're like, okay, I didn't need a map. I couldn't explain to somebody how to get here. I couldn't tell them what streets to turn down, but I know how to get here. That's the unconscious competent part. If you're unconsciously competent in real estate, in advising people, and letting them know what they need to do to sell their house, what you need to do to buy your house, who you need to talk to for a mortgage, who you need to talk to as a lawyer. If you know all those things so fluidly, this business is going to be much easier. But if you're constantly fumbling around, if you're constantly looking for the answers, if you're constantly stumbling, if you're constantly not being able to overcome objections, they're going to pass. You get one shot. Now, you guys, in this particular case, I'll point out, like Gonzalo, and Craig. Now, you guys have been doing better. You know why? I mean, from afar, I know why. You guys might not be able to peg it, but you're getting more reps. And so here's the thing with more reps. When you guys go door knocking, it doesn't matter if you suck or not, okay? If you knock on 50 doors, on the 50th door, you're much better. And if you compound that, the purpose of the reps is you're not going to get listings all the time. The purpose of the reps is to get every freaking objection possible thrown at you. Because once you get the objection thrown at you, you'll never have a problem with it again. The most people that have problems with objections, they've never heard them before. You can't hear them if you never get in front of anybody. So the purpose is to continue the reps so that basically you've heard every type of objection possible so that nothing is fumbling. If you hear an objection 10 times, you're not going to screw it up anymore. Or at least you're not going to screw it up as bad. Or you're going to have an answer. Or, I've heard that before. Here's what I would recommend. More time, the idea that we're not going to door knock or we're not going to make calls or we're not going to do that, it doesn't come from the lack of wanting to do it. It comes from fear. Once you get over that fear, it's over. Okay? So the point of it all for him was to get to that point of unconscious competence. And what he was explaining, which I think we'll go over to Brian's comment, which I thought was actually a great lead-in, was this whole point, this E to P, which was one of my biggest takeaways from and I've heard the E to P thing 5,000 times at Keller Williams, but I really didn't get it until I went to this family reunion. So first of all, does everybody know E to P? Does everybody really understand it?
No.
Okay. So I didn't either. I mean, it sounds like great when you're looking at a chart or you're looking at it in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent but it's another thing to have somebody explain it and then you kind of like, okay, now I got it. So
Is that going to happen now?
I hope so. We'll see how good I am at explaining it. So does everybody know what the E is? There you go. Okay. And does everybody know what the P is? Okay. So the idea is to go from E to P in this business. I could say with confidence that if I asked you guys as real estate agents, if you were entrepreneurial, a lot of you would say you were. Because it takes a lot to be in this business and to know that you're not getting paid unless you really dive in. This is not a salaried position. You have to have an entrepreneurial spirit to engage in this type of business. Now, is there anybody in this room that would say that they're not entrepreneurial? So does anybody, it doesn't matter who, does anybody want to dive in and try and tell me what they think? And there's no wrong answer. What they think entrepreneurial means.
For me at least, that relates to the type of person that you are, your mindset, how driven you are, understanding the numbers, knowing the activities you have to do in order to reach your goal, being focused on your goal. So at least that summarized in big words.
So, and I don't disagree with you, but here's my question before we get to the next slide. Do you think being entrepreneurial in this business is enough?
No, you definitely have to be a little bit creative and finding a niche and open. My challenge is being open to the model compared to other people that are just doing it.
See, the reason why I'm asking the question is because, do you want to say something, Brian?
Oh, what was your question initially? Do you need to be entrepreneurial to be an agent?
Not do you need to be entrepreneurial, do you think it's enough to be entrepreneurial?
No.
Because here's the thing.
People business.
Yeah, here's the thing. The thing is that without Keller Williams, okay, I probably would have thought being an entrepreneurial is enough. But then you come to Keller Williams and they say you have to get from E to P. So basically, without any more explanation, they don't think it's enough, right? I mean, because it's not enough to be an entrepreneur. And then, so what Jay and what Chris Suarez was explaining, which was really, really good, was why it's not enough. So, and I didn't really get it until they started explaining it. So here's the deal. This was something that Chris Suarez talked about, okay? He said entrepreneurs are creative first and willing to do whatever it takes. That's everybody, right? We'll do whatever it takes, right? But here's the problem. Whatever it takes, we're not necessarily great at all things, right? I mean, like, and so what he came out with was this okay plateau, a plateau. He says, okay, Jay, how's your typing, right? And my typing's not good. I'm hunt and peck. At hunt and peck, you can get 40 to 45 words done if you're really good, right? But if you, and now I've been doing that, I'm 50. I've been hunting and pecking, whatever. I'm probably at 45 words. I can do a lot of damage with like 2 fingers. However, he was like, well, if you spent a month actually taking a typewriter course, you'd probably be at 100 words a minute. 1 month. Yet I won't do it because I'm entrepreneurial, but I'm not purposeful about that. Okay, so he's saying that if you are entrepreneurial, that's not enough because you have to be purposeful in all tasks. Now, you being able to type something out, and he was talking about it because he's written a few books, and he was a guy that did the hunt and peck thing. And he was like, no, I can't do this. This is taking me months when it should take days. So he went and took a course, and it was like overnight, he was not allowed to look down and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, it dawned on him that he was not good. So he relegated that to being the okay plateau. How are you at typing? I'm okay. Well, that's not good enough. Now, if you said to him, are you an entrepreneur? Of course I'm an entrepreneur. I'm writing a book. I'm doing that. How's your typing? Okay, not purposeful in that respect. So the mindset of the purposeful agent is to start with the model first, then create. First take the course, then start writing your book. Not write your book at half the speed. Okay? So he got into this whole thing about explaining. See you guys. He got into this whole thing about explaining that. And so we started talking about scripts and role play, group coaching, whatever you want to talk about. So think about it like this. If you're entrepreneurial and I say, you got to make 100 calls, right? And you're entrepreneurial, you might be okay at it. And you might be willing to do it because you're an entrepreneur and you're willing to do anything, whatever is required. The problem is that entrepreneurs can't do everything at a really peak level because they don't know everything. Okay? So the entrepreneur will just get on the phone without the scripts, without anything. Whereas the purposeful agent will come to group coaching, will come to scripts and role play, will have it out 1,000 times, okay? And then they go from, they were entrepreneurial, but now they're becoming a purposeful agent. because they actually are subscribing to a system. And so that's what they're talking about from the E to P. It's not enough to just be willing to do something. Entrepreneurs are always willing to do stuff. Like Brian said, listen, you want me to come list your house? No problem. I'm willing to do it. Call me at 9 o'clock. I'll be there at 5 in the morning. Willingness is not the key. Willingness and being purposeful, then you got something. So, here's how you break it down. If I say to an entrepreneur, what'd you do today? And they say, oh, I made 100 calls, right? Hold on one sec. It's my daughter. I have to at least text her back. So the difference is that if I say to you guys, are you willing to make 100 phone calls today? Or are you willing to door knock for 2 hours today? And you say yes. Okay, we got the willingness. We got the entrepreneurial, all right? You're a go-getter. Now, that's time on task, okay? But don't confuse time on task with being a purposeful agent. You can do a lot of things and spend hours and hours and not be doing the right thing. We see this time and time again in this office, okay? So what I'm saying is that the E to P is being willing to do that and doing it the right way. It's a combination of both, okay? So don't mistake time on task for, okay, I did it, nothing's happening. Does everybody understand this so far? Okay. Now, he came up with this thing, discipline equals freedom, all right? So I'm an entrepreneur by heart, all right? And that's what entrepreneurs do. They run 100 miles an hour, no direction, willing to do anything, motivated. I'm motivated. You guys motivated?
Yes.
You willing to learn? You're curious about things. You're tireless workers. You'll answer your phone at all hours of the night. You'll run anywhere. You'll do anything, right? That nobody's guilty of not being an entrepreneur. However, you have to commit to models. That's the difference with why I firmly believe KW figured it out. If you subscribe to it, okay? Every single person, I would gather that most people that are realtors would label themselves as entrepreneurial. It's just the issue is that they're not purposeful with anything. I'm guilty of it as well. Because before I joined Keller Williams, I didn't subscribe to models. I was one of those guys that ran around at 100 miles an hour. It just so happens that even though I didn't subscribe to models, I had models that I was adhering to in my own way. They just weren't as pronounced as what, and defined, right, as what Keller Williams prescribes. So let's consider time blocking. Yeah, go ahead.
So what was that model that you were doing before Keller Williams?
It's not that it was a model. It was just that I was disciplined enough to do certain things, okay, that where, like, if I knew, like, for instance, I knew that for me to be successful, I had to meet X number of people per week, have X number of conversations. Okay, but was I time blocking on a calendar? Was I logging them in? No, but I still did it. It wasn't as defined as, like Scott was saying. Like,
I was actually saying refined.
Refined, exactly, or defined. So they were models. They weren't. I was probably somewhere in the middle between the E and getting to P. Now I'm still not at P because I'm not completely purposeful with my time, but that's where I'm striving to get. So let's consider the time blocking, okay? So before we get to the slide, does everybody time block?
Generally,
Right.
list, I do have a couple lists, kind of organize them.
Okay. So, if you've been at Keller Williams for any amount of time, they literally scream from the rooftops about time blocking. I mean, I got to tell you that before I got to this firm, I don't think I ever heard the word time blocking, literally. I mean, I did block time. I did use a calendar, but I never heard the word time blocking with as much.
P.
Yeah, I mean, it's just overwhelming how crazy they are about this. So then I started thinking about it in terms of what an entrepreneur does when they time block and what a purposeful agent does when they time block. Okay. So here's what the entrepreneur does. Now, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. The entrepreneur acknowledges they need a time block. How many of you guys acknowledge we need a time block, right? Does everybody know they need a time block? How many of you guys have done step 2? Researches the best apps or tools to help time block. What's the best calendar? What's the best this, right? Anybody? No?
Yes.
I mean, if I'm wrong, tell me. Download the app, get it all ready, reds, blues, greens, yellows, this, that, right? Confirms that they actually are time blocking. They have the app, they have the this, but they don't engage in the activity. Okay, so now we have it all down, right? I'm supposed to lead gen from 10 to 12, door knock from 12 to 1, have my one-on-one meetings from 1 to 2, go to the team meeting from 2 to, whatever it is. You can fill it very easily. Work out from this to that. A million things. That calendar in that new app can be booked in 30 minutes with a million different things. Here's the question. Does the agent actually engage in the activity of time blocking? Okay? And that is the difference between entrepreneurial and purposeful. The purposeful agent does all that and these things. Okay? If you can do this, the trajectory of your business will change, which is what I'm working on. And so this is what the purposeful agent does. They find a bunker. Now, anybody, you guys, I don't expect everybody to just understand my lingo here. So if you have a question, just stop me. Yeah.
Find a bunker.
Find a bunker. Get out of the noise. Don't hang out and fraternize with 5 agents and think you're time blocking. That's not what it is. Okay? Unless you are collectively really doing it together and it's nobody's impeding the other's ability to actually get work done. Okay? So find a bunker. Bring supplies. The bringing supplies part is the whatever you need to get your job done. The most interesting thing about agents is that they put themselves in such uncomfortable positions that they almost are hamstringing themselves because they don't want to be able to finish the task, if you can understand that. Like, oh, I would have done this, but I didn't have my laptop. I would have done this, but I didn't have my phone. I would have done this. I'll give you a perfect example of bring supplies, okay? How many people have gone to Bold, right? Okay, how many times during the calls does somebody come around and say, I don't have a signal, I can't do anything?
What signal?
Yeah.
I don't know what.
A signal. Okay.
But it's true though.
I understand it's true. But what I'm saying is that you would think after going to Bold and knowing that we're out in the middle of the desert where there's no towers, that they would have figured that out. But if they haven't, bring a call list. Bring 10 people that you can dial. Don't sabotage yourself by saying you don't. You're entrepreneurial, because let me tell you why that's a perfect example of being an entrepreneur, but not being purposeful. When you leave Bold, you throw on Facebook, oh, I just finished Bold. Everybody thinks, wow, this guy's committed. This girl's committed. They went to Bold for 7 hours. What'd you do? Nothing. Figured out a way to get out of everything. That's the entrepreneurial versus the purposeful agent. The purposeful agent's figuring out a way to get it done, to make the calls, to know that if they're committing their hard-earned time and money towards something, that they're going to get the most out of it. Sweep for minds, okay? If you're going to door knock, don't talk to people. Don't door knock. Don't look at social media. Don't text. Don't this. Don't that. If you're actually time blocking for an hour, time block for an hour. Okay? If you want to time block your social media, time block it. I do. I literally have my little freaking alarm on Facebook go off and tell me when I've been on more than an hour a day. And that's it.
That's what I'm posting.
Huh?
That's what I'm posting.
That's right. All right, you're banned from the class. Banned. All right. Anyway, I tell the jokes, or I can tell. But literally, it can get away from you. I mean, how many of you guys, you get on social media and you flip from one to the other, then you take a call, then you see a text, and you go back to social. Complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. It will do nothing for your business. If you time block social media, you would see what a waste of time it was. Because what I would challenge you guys to do is there's a thing on your phone that logs how much time you've been on. Make sure that whatever calendar you guys are using, that you time block and put that on there. Because obviously, if you time block from 9 to 5, right, or whatever, and social media or screwing around on your phone is not on there, and then you go on Facebook, the app, and it says you were on your phone Facebook 6 hours today, that had to figure somewhere into the time block. Make sure you put that on the calendar as well. Then you'll really see what the calendar looks like. And then fourth, enlist support. Have people in your sphere that help you stay accountable. That's key. Did you do this? Do you know that I have guys in my sphere, not agents, that when they call me, they ask me, hey, did you get a listing today? Did you make a sale today? Like I know when I get this call, there's going to be some pressure. Not because they are trying to exert pressure, but because I don't want to say no. If your best friend called you, hey, how you doing today? Did you sell something today? No. Did you list something today? No. Not great. If that call comes in every day, it's going to be really annoying. That's enough to keep you accountable. I promise you it is.
Can I ask you some questions? Since you have Max Coach, what do they do to keep you accountable?
I have a MAPS coach too.
Oh, I didn't know.
Go ahead.
Or if you want both answers.
No, Scott, take it over, man.
I have not the way I ever imagined this, I have a 3-way text with my wife and my coach, indicating in the morning what my goal is, and then reporting later if I achieve that, yeah. Right. So it works and it doesn't work, because it's interesting. there's some reality to life circumstances in everyone's lives, right? And my wife, who is the recipient of my work, and I'm supporting her. I got a little sign in my office that says, what if what you did during the day supported the life? What if it supported fine, right? Because I got me and the 3 kids and my wife, right? However, she's in that mix. She knows how crazy it can get, right? It's easy to kind of get away from your 20 at work and add some 80 from your life and come up with a decent excuse that she can buy into because she's been living the hell as well, right? So it works and it doesn't work with regard to that. But besides that, it's just
So if you don't, I don't know how it works. So if you don't hit your goals, you have to, and expect to make up for it.
yeah. I mean, if you erase, you got to replace.
And what do they do to hold you to that goal?
Listen, you have free will, and you can basically say, you know what, I don't care, whatever I've developed an internal, you can speak by coach, an internal commitment where I no longer feel good saying, I did. And I'm at like 40, 50 calls a week, 40, 50 contacts a week. I'm no longer comfortable admitting that whether it's my wife or my coach, to myself, most importantly, saying, yeah, I did 20. It's over time and kind of, a little bit of a habit. I mean, I'm not a bold 20 guy. I just had that conversation with my coach and where I'm at. That's why I'm not 8, 9, 10, and that's 5, 6, 7 with regard to effort where I want to go.
You got 5 listeners.
Yeah, and I'm building, and that just shows me what little I'm doing purposefully getting there towards the peak. Results, bad than if I did do a 20 a day, 100 a week, that guy, or otherwise. So it's also internal because you could, some people really bothers you if you make a commitment, you tell somebody else, my wife or otherwise, and I didn't make it today. She might say, well, yeah, rough day.
Well, the aversion to accountability is extremely high in this business. Extremely. Even if you're paying for it. Okay, like for instance, MAPS coaches are not cheap. It's $1,000 a month.
Wait, so how many times a week or a month?
Once a week. Once a week. My calls every week, Tuesday at 2. And it's
what kind of accountability do you have when you coach?
a lot. And it's a lot of pressure because I have to report my numbers. I have to report my team's numbers. I have to report a lot of things that we're trying to get accomplished in team growth. There's just so many things. And I know when that call comes that it's going to be an interesting 30-minute conversation.
It doesn't feel good, but there's an internal drive or mechanism that says, I mean, you could choose to just say, I didn't make it this week.
Yeah, it's
$250 for the week.
But here's the point. Let's say everybody that has a coach, the coaches are specialized to you. So let's say your goal was to get more listings or to be accountable for door knocking. How many doors do you knock every week?
Usually about 160.
Okay. So let's say that, he or she might say to you, look, your goal is to door knock 160, but, we're going from E to P. I don't just go through the motions of getting denied, knock, whatever. I'm going to hold you accountable to convert. You need to convert X. You need to, if you're not going to convert, and I'm not saying convert like get the listing. The convert is get the information, log into command, that type of conversion. Okay, next call. How many did you log in? How many did you put in command? Send me that list. I want to see it. That type of stuff. If you're not doing it, that's why I'm saying your question is exactly E to P. If I say to you, are you willing to hire a MAPS coach? And you say, yeah, 12 grand, it's a lot of money, but it's going to help make me better. Now, that's the entrepreneurial. This guy's investing in himself, right? Now, if you show up to every call half-assed, that's not purposeful. That's the E to P part. Most people will not do everything required, even if they're paying for it.
And they'll justify it by saying they're paying for it.
Well,
I'm paying for it, so I'm not gonna do it.
No, they'll justify it by saying they're paying for it, but they'll also say, what will they say? Well, they'll shift the blame. It's on them. It's just not working out. We didn't get along. Whatever it is, it's never the agent's fault, ever. The bottom line is that if you really want to get purposeful about your business, it requires a high level of being uncomfortable. That's it, in any aspect. Because the reason why you're uncomfortable, I'll just go back to this, is because of this. We're not competent. If you were competent and knew that your success rate when you knock on doors is 50%, how many doors would you knock on? 1 million.
About 25, 30%.
Okay, but that's pretty good. 1 in every 4 you're going to get. It's pretty good, man. But if you don't think and you're not that confident, and every time you knock on the door, somebody says, "Who the fuck is here?"
I do it so often. I know before I start how many people are gonna come and speak.
Okay, but that comes from confidence, and that comes from actually getting the reps and actually assimilating the data and knowing what you're going to do.
People I'm going to put in my database.
Okay, can I just offer something, right? You've probably broken through the ceiling on the E with regard to door knocking, because now you've done this for so long, you've tracked numbers, that you can say, if I want to speak to 40 people today, or this week, I got to knock on 160 doors, right? I submit, challenge you that you're at another plateau, maybe not an okay plateau, but based upon the numbers that you gave, right? What can you do now in a P conversation?
So now I'm going
that converts those more to, right?
So I'm going to be more purposeful on my follow-up now. So in addition to the door knocking, I'm going to follow up with phone calls.
Which you have or haven't been doing.
I need to do a lot better.
All right, so you haven't done. I got the answer, but which is fine. You got to acknowledge what you're doing and what you're not doing. I mean, listen, it's all about the follow-up. So if you're not following up, what was the rep for of going and doing the door knocking in the first place? They're not going to say yes on the first try. The whole purpose of the door knocking is just to get them comfortable with you reaching out again. That's what I would be doing if I was door knocking. If I'm door knocking, I'm like, hey, they answer the door. Hey, how you doing? I want to introduce myself. My name is Jay Kapit. I just want to let you know I sold something across the street. Curious if you're interested in selling your house or if you know anybody that does, blah, 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 blah. No, Jay, fuck off. I don't care, blah. You know what? No problem. But you've already done the heavy lifting of knocking, and that's the hard part. So, see, most agents will shut down right there. Okay, thank you very much. And they go on to the next door. I won't do that. Because, see, the hard part was this. It takes a lot of guts. You get shot right through the door. Once they open, even if they said that, right? And they go, no, I have no interest in selling. My mom willed me the house. I'm going to die here. I'm willing to make it. Anything. What are they going to say? There's nothing that they could say that would offend me, to the point where I wouldn't say back to them, you know what, look, I appreciate that. You don't know me from anyone. I really even appreciate you opening the door. Here's what I would ask. Now that we at least had the conversation, this house sold for $450,000. Could I at least send you an email showcasing the sales in the area? That's it. Now, even if the guy hates my guts and is wishing death on me, he might want the value. He might. Now, if he says, absolutely not, I am and have no interest in this at all, really appreciate it. Thank you for your time, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So just to add to that.
Yeah.
So I've been door knocking several communities consistently for the last 18 months. People who told me that they have no interest, I continue to knock, I could care less.
Right.
So around the third or fourth time, a lot of people said, I'm not giving you my contact information.
Yeah.
Give it to you.
Yeah. And they could give it to you for they could give it to you for two reasons. One, they genuinely want to give it to you, or genuinely they're so
They
sick of you,
trust
they
you
just
more.
want to give it to you.
They trust
Yeah.
you because you keep coming back.
They see the persistence.
Yo, Brian.
Question for you, so the conversation you just described, the guy doesn't want the email. Would
Mm-hmm.
you follow up by, like, snail mail with him? Would you send him something?
Yeah, maybe. Or what I would do with that is that if they really don't want the email, I'm not going to pound them for it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to make sure and I'm going to send them something like of a sale, so that I'm subconsciously reminding them. Okay. The thing is that where you just admitted that you're weak on the follow up is where I'm the strongest. Okay. So like, for instance, once I get that information, now remember, this guy wants me dead. I interrupted him while I was watching a soap opera, whatever I did. But he agreed to give me his information. 2 follow-ups immediately. The first is the phone call or the text or whatever the preferred level of communication is, to say thank you for opening the door and just talking to me for a minute or yelling at me for 30 seconds. The second is the drip campaign. So it's not just putting them on a drip campaign, and remember that I make the phone call and send the email so that to remind them, to thank them and to remind them that they will be being added to the campaign. I don't need to spam everybody. I want them agreeing to it.
Do you leave a card?
You know what? I got to tell you, I'm not the person to ask about it because this is the first year I've even had cards.
Yeah.
I don't need a card.
You don't?
I have a flyer.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Thank you.
So this part, just make sure you understand this, okay? Everybody knows what to do. Do we really understand it? Now, everybody, if I said to you, you know what E2P is? Do you kind of understand it a little bit better now?
Intellectually, I haven't put it in practice.
Well, you got to put it into practice.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm just saying you could read Millionaire Real Estate Agent a million times and say, I got to get from E to P. And if somebody asks you to explain it, you really can't explain it. Now, at least you have a better idea of what it means to not just simply be entrepreneurial, but to actually be purposeful with your day. If you can just do a little more than you were doing yesterday, it's going to make a huge impact in your business. So, knowing that you need to time block is very different from understanding how to time block. Like we said, everybody's got a calendar. Everybody has it filled out. 7 to 8, I wake up, I have breakfast, I go to the gym, I come home, I am supposed to lead generate, I don't, I this, I that, I go to lunch, I get a call, blah, 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 blah. Actually understanding how to time block is the key. Now, this was interesting, okay? Yeah.
Time block?
Do I time block? Yeah, I'm not the best at it, but I'm getting better.
Do you time block everything?
I time block from the minute I get up till about 2 p.m. And then it kind of all goes out the window. So think about it like this, okay? I want you to think about your price range and what you sell, right? This was so interesting to me when they talked about this. This comment was from Dick Dillingham. Okay. Does anybody know who Dick Dillingham is? Okay. If you don't know him, just look him up. He's a legend in KW. He's started it all with Mike Brody and Gary Keller, and he's just a fantastic guy. He was talking about the breakout that I went to is about living an extraordinary life, not just going through the motions. So he put up this slide about the average NAR agent doing 7.6 sides a year. And with the idea of don't be average, right? I mean, what's the purpose of doing this if you're just going to be average?
Aaron said the same thing.
7.6 sides. you can do the math. If you sell 500 homes, that's $3.5 million. Now do the math on that. 3.5 million, 3%, it's 100 grand. Okay. Now you can look at that and be like, oh, I'd be happy with 100 grand. But I'm talking to you like the average is 500,000. In middle America or wherever, or where 80% of these agents came from, it's probably like 180 grand. Okay, now do the average on 180 grand. 7.6 at 200, that's 143. You can start doing the math and figuring it out. After the expenses and this and that, you don't want to be average. The entrepreneur by himself, great intentions, but most are average. You have to be purposeful, which is why they went on to this. If you're not changing, you're at risk, because everybody's entrepreneurial. If I come in back here 2-3 years from now, we're all going to be entrepreneurs. We might all do the same volume though. I don't want to do the same volume. I got another kid going to college next year. I got families that want stuff. I don't want to be average. I want to be able to say yes, So the question was that Wendy Papasan asked at the end was that every day at 8:30 in the morning, every single day at 8:30, she asked herself, are you clear about your priorities today? That's a pretty interesting question. Because what it does is it kind of sets you up to figure out if you're on the path to actually being purposeful for the day. Like if you got up at 8 o'clock and you're making breakfast and I go, hey, what are you doing today? I'm not sure. You're obviously not that clear. You're all over the place. But if you at 8:30, even without a MAPS coach, even without any accountability partner, if you at 8:30 knew exactly what you were doing every single day as it related to your profession, I think you'd be a lot better off. So I took that question and I was sitting there and I was like, I think I need to know what I'm doing every morning.
How would you define your priorities versus goals? Like the ratio of, would you set your goals and then hit the priorities of how you wanted to achieve those goals?
Yeah, you break it down. That's not my class, but that's the 135, the 411. You can get crazy with that stuff. But I would say know what you're supposed to be doing. Am I making the calls? Am I doing the door knocking? Am I getting the time blocking done? Am I meeting people? Am I scheduled to send out note cards? Whatever it is you're doing. So what have we learned? I think number one is the main thing. Okay? It's not enough to be an entrepreneur. This took a long time for me to learn. See you, man. But I finally clicked. This my third time as a charm at family reunion, because when I heard this, I was like, it's just not enough. You have to be so much more purposeful with your time. It's not enough to just be willing to do anything and everything. And the only way to do that is to commit to a model. And it's not about committing to this 24-hour model. You can take baby steps. You can commit to something for an hour a day. Number 3, it's self-explanatory, but don't just fill the calendar. Be purposeful. Fill it with stuff that you're actually willing to do. It's really funny. John will come in here and say, look, don't get up until you make 20 contacts or 20, whatever it is he says. He's not wrong. But that could be really overwhelming for somebody that's never made a phone call. So what was interesting is I've always subscribed to incremental changes, which I've brought up at Get Real things before. So Chris Suarez actually made a comment that kind of aligns with how I think. He said, look, you know what? If you don't make calls, make one. Do something. If you don't like making calls, Obviously, somebody telling you need to make 20 is going to be ridiculous. But if I told you, you know what? I know you don't like making calls. Nobody likes making calls, cold calls. Let's make one. Make one. I know the threshold of pain is not, but let's just make one. You make one, there's a little bit of accomplishment in that, okay? And just know that the main difference between the entrepreneur and the purposeful is number 4. It's only about the activities, the actual activities. You have to engage in the activities. It's not enough to say, I know I have to do this, I have to do that. That's not enough. You actually have to engage in them. All right? And remember number 5. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's only about production. At the end of the day. I mean, we are in a little bubble over here. We were standing in rooms where people did 9-10 million in GCI. I mean, it's like frightening. I mean, I wouldn't even register a blip on the radar in these people, against these people. Like 9 to 10 million. I mean, it's insane. The numbers are mind-boggling. And that's why I kind of led with stay in your own lane. Nobody cares. If you're doing 100 grand in GCI, do 200, do 500, do $1 million. These people didn't set out and go to a family reunion and say, oh my God, this person's doing 12 million, Bob, this, Ben, it all starts if you're willing to be a little bit more purposeful with your day. If you're willing to stay on the hamster wheel and just say, you know what, I'll just get the business wherever it comes, or I'm going to be an entrepreneur and this and that, and I know all the things about KW, but aren't willing to actually subscribe to any of them, that's on you. Questions? Anyone? Bueller? I got to tell you that.
Give us.
Yeah.
Give us like 3 of your big takeaways from family meeting.
You mean like from people?
Whatever.
I mean, I got to tell you that command is the way. You have no idea how powerful this is. It's not enough to see it from Jay and all that. You literally, it's unbelievable. But here's an interesting part. I'll share this with you guys. So when I walk in, some of you guys have been, like when you first walk into a family reunion, there's the whole exhibit hall part where you can just walk aimlessly anywhere, vendors everywhere, okay? Good or bad, even though there's 18,000 people and I usually walk with my head down, somebody calls my name out of nowhere from like a mile away. So somebody called me and I looked up and they were standing in an area and I walked over to them. And it happened to be next to Keller Mortgage, the thing, okay? So I was talking to the person and then I was standing right at Keller Mortgage, so I just kind of felt I should say hello and whatever. So I started talking to one of the girls that was at Keller Mortgage. And she said, do you use Keller Mortgage? And I said, no. I said, we have an in-house, I try and bend some business to them and I have some preferred lenders that I use. And she goes, well, you should really add Keller Mortgage to your list. And I go, well, do they have Keller Mortgage in Florida? She goes, yeah, they have them in Florida. So she literally goes, let me walk you through it. Okay? Now, she walks me through this and it was so powerful. And I love Lynn and I have really close friends in the mortgage business, but there's no way I'm not going to offer this out as an option. No way, not a chance. Same rate, 1,000 off closing costs. And here's the other part. Hold on. Let's see if I can do this for you guys. Give me a second.
And little plus, get another tab. It's
Yeah.
right next to it, right next to it. No, up, straight up, up.
Ah, okay. All right. Now we're doing something. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I need to type on the right
Unfortunately,
keyboard.
Keller Mortgage is internet-based.
Okay, so is this mine or no?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I want to show you guys something that's interesting. Look at my, what the hell? What am I saying? This can't be mine. This must not be mine.
It is yours.
It is?
Yeah.
Do you face in the corner?
Upper right.
Yeah.
Oh, you know why? Because, yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me do this. I can't do it. But anyway, long story short, she walked me through this, and this is how intuitive they have figured this out and pulled this in. So now, if you offer out Keller Mortgage as an option, the minute they even look into it, it shows up on your command. The second that they even hit a link, it shows up on a
One of
command.
your contacts.
Yeah.
It's the link, right? You know all their.
Yes, everything.
Right.
So, for me, I have 2 or 3 people that I've always referred mortgage business to, and I'll continue to refer that to them. But I also never refer just one. I always refer multiple options, and they can choose. Who do you vibe with? Who's giving you the best rate? It doesn't make any difference to me who you use. I just want you to use people that I think are competent. Okay, these are the list of people that I think have actually gotten many deals done for me. Now I'm going to add Keller to the list. Okay, now they haven't gotten deals done with me, but I'm going to be able to know pretty quickly how efficient these people are. And considering it's not a money maker for them, I'm pretty sure they're going to be efficient at it. So she walks me through this and shows me how if she signs up, it automatically not only pops up on command, but sends you like a text. So it's so intuitive, the system, that it's not worth not really diving into it. There's a lot of people at Family Reunion that I spoke to that are kind of like, well, I'm not going to worry about command until it's all built. You'll be way behind. I mean, like miles behind. Another aha that I'm going to be very intentional about referring business out. That I just felt like part of my daily routine will be finding business for other agents outside of this area, because there's a lot of opportunity for me when I hear things, and I don't necessarily, I know that I can refer it out, but I don't take it to the next level. Kind of like knocking on the door, doing the heavy lifting, and then not asking the final question, not asking for the business, not asking for their contact information. From a referring out, when you go to Family Reunion and you have all these contacts and you follow up with the contacts. Like, for instance, I sent an email out. Let me see if I can show it to you. Maybe the email will work. Is this really mine? Yeah, maybe it's mine. Okay. So for instance, let me show you this email, and then you get an idea. So I explained to some of these people that I met that I am completely intending to send them business, but I need to know more, as opposed to just saying, hey, yeah, I'll send you business. Thanks. We had a lot of fun, blah, blah, blah. Great to have 37 drinks with you, blah, whatever. Now I really intend to send you business, but I really need to know where you work. Don't just say California. Where do you work? Okay. So here was my email to her. Oh, now you can see what I did. This is my signature email. All right. So these are all clickable links. So here's the app. Want my app? Click it. Keller Mortgage, click. Blah, blah, blah. But here's what I sent to her. All right. So I sent her an email. So great to meet you. No shortage of agents. It's so refreshing talking to someone who genuinely vibe with, blah, 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 blah. but I want to know more about where you work, right? Instead of, oh, I'll definitely look to send you business. Oh, if you have any business, send it to me, even though she has no idea where I am, right? So this was the response. Now, do you think I'm going to be a little bit more intentional about sending that agent business? I know exactly where she is right now. So like a wallflower, if somebody says any of these cities, I don't know anything about California. I've been to Napa, whatever. My kid wanted to go to USC. That's pretty much how much I know about it. Now, here's the way you make a connect and refer. If somebody says to you, actually, you know what, I'd love to talk to you, Jay, but I really need an agent in California. Oh, yeah, where in California? I don't know. Do you know California that well? I know great agents in California. Where specifically are you looking? Well, I don't know if you know California that well. This is not like LA. This is, an area called Newhall. Oh yeah, actually, I do know Newhall pretty well. I have this great agent there. I was just with her in Dallas last week. Can I give you information like that? That part, instead of saying, yeah, I know a ton of agents in California, that doesn't resonate with anybody. That's like saying I know a ton of agents in Florida. But if I said I knew a specific agent because I had one extra conversation with the agent, much easier conversation. Much easier. So that's what my aha was, and that's why you have to go to family reunion. Can't get that from the screens. Can't. I have 100 of these. And I do this without fail. That's why when I was talking to Brian at this Brokers Open that we went to, I said I was freaking exhausted. Because you go and the idea is don't stop. You can sleep when you get home. Because if you're going to go and you're going to do that heavy lifting, go all the way. I mean, I was out till freaking 2 a.m. and up at 7 going on, the first breakouts at 7:45. And you sleep for like 4 hours while you're there. It's like freaking hell week in a freaking fraternity. I mean, it doesn't end. And look, I mean, you got guys there that don't want it to end because half of them are 25.
If you could go to only one, either family reunion or mastermind.
Oh, you mean mega camp?
Yeah, mega.
I got to tell you, they're both great. Up until this one, I was a bigger fan of mega camp actually, but I got to say this was really good. And I had a good time. And here's the difference. I'll tell you the difference, and then you can decide. At least in my opinion, Ada has been there. Ada, as the first family reunion I went to was with Ada. She kind of helped me navigate. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. She was telling me which courses to go to and everything. But here's the difference. Family reunions longer. So it's like stretched out. So like when I go to family reunion, I have a lot more time to schedule off-task stuff. One-on-ones, coffee, meetings, going out, parties, all for the purpose of creating business and synergizing with other agents. Mega camp is like a much more concise window. So you can do it, but it's like a whirlwind. It's like 48 hours and then you're done. So it depends on if you just want to go. And let's say if I didn't have a lot of contacts and I just wanted to go and get the gist of all the classes and the courses and the breakouts and the vision speech from Gary, I think I would probably go to Mega Camp. But if I knew, hey, I'm going to connect and I want to set this up and I want to set this meeting up and I want to talk to this agent from Texas and this agent from New York and this agent from Cali, and family reunion is going to be your better bet. This coming year, it's probably going to sell out this month because it's in Vegas and it's during Super Bowl weekend. So there will be no sense of urgency on the office to try and get people to go because everybody's going to go because it's Vegas. 80% of the agents that go to family reunion probably won't attend one thing because it's in Vegas. But who cares? I mean, I'm going to go and I'll have 50 meetings with a bunch of people, and I'm probably going to even be more crazier because it's Vegas. And I won't sleep, and then I'll come home and I'll take 3 days off and whatever. But it is worth it because the agents that go, are just as intentional about creating relationships as you are. They're also paying thousands of dollars to attend. They want to get something out of it. So it's a big thing to go and spend money and fly, and it's a get up. It's not like the easiest thing in the world. The flights, the hotels, the schedule, the Ubers everywhere, you got to make it pay. Like, my mindset is different than other people's mindsets when I go there. I go there to create and forge solid relationships with people and to continue the relationships that I have with people that I've met before, so that it's not just always an email, it's actual physical face-to-face contact to solidify it, okay? To me, that's worth it, because this trip cost me, I don't know, whatever it costs, $2,000, $3,000, whatever it costs, okay? But it's the same way that I look at a lot of stuff, from a purposeful way. If I go here and actually do what I'm supposed to do, am I not going to get one deal out of this? I'm going to get a deal out of this. It's 30 grand. That's 15 family reunions, whatever. If you go with your, and you're just like, well, I'm just going to go through the motions to say that I went to family reunion, to post it on Facebook that I went to family reunion, and you will know if you really got something out of it and you went and did what you were supposed to do. There are plenty of people that go to family reunion to say they went to family reunion, come away with 0 contacts, don't attend half the breakouts because they get there 2 minutes before and it's closed off. However intentional you want to be, is you can really make it pay. For instance, I'm going to just tell you this one last thing so you understand the level of intentionality. My kids, one just graduated from high school, one's a senior. They both went to American Heritage, okay? My wife, who's a former lawyer, heads up the law school program there. But before she headed it up, she was out, she wasn't working, okay? And for the first 3 years, I was paying. As a teacher, you don't pay. That's included. But when she wasn't teaching, I was paying. Now, for 2, it's like 50 grand a year, okay? Absolute insanity. However, I said to myself, let me make this work out. Let me see if I can gravitate and get a few clients and meet a few people that I wouldn't have sourced but for going to American Heritage. And maybe I'll get a way to offset this 50 grand. So the first year, literally, the first year, I made about $41,000 from that, okay? I sold a monster property in Parkland to a guy relocating, and that was like the offset. I would never have met this guy but for that. And I said to myself, I have to do this. And so if you go with that kind of intentionality, not that you have to be like ramming it down people's throats, but just understanding the metric. The metric being, there's work to be done. Of course, it has to be sincere and genuine, but there's work to be done. Don't just go to just go. You're going to go 100%. Now, does all 15 to 20, how many agents were there? Probably 20,000 agents. 17,233. This guy counted them. 17,233. If we took a straw poll, they're all entrepreneurs, right? They're all entrepreneurs, forging their way, paying for their tickets, all independent contractors. After this class, how many do you think were actually purposeful? Is it 50%? Is it 10? Is it 20? I don't know. The first time I'm entrepreneurial, but I am a bit purposeful, probably more purposeful than most, but not nearly what KW expects, and not nearly what KW would define purposeful as. So I'm getting there. That's my goal. My goal is to get purposeful and to actually say, I have gone from E to P. I'm nowhere near there yet, but at least that I know it. Most people don't know it or won't admit it. Because if I said to everybody at family reunion, are you purposeful? Yeah, I'm purposeful. Yeah, you set up a lot of meetings? No. You have a lot of contact? No. You got any of the classes? Missed one. I got coffee, the great barbecue down the street though. I mean, you can literally go there and say you went to family reunion and not attend one class. Not one. You could go to Gary Keller's vision speech and walk out after 5 minutes. You could do a million things. It's up to you. But I go, I listen, because I don't want to leave saying I didn't do everything I could possibly do. If you go like that, and I go to everyone, I go to Mega, because I believe that you can glean a lot out of it. You can learn a lot about it, but you can really forge serious relationships there. I mean, I have relationships with people that, you're on their radar for anything. You don't know. It's like, like what they talk about. The idea of that this is a long-term business. This is a pipeline business. It may not be now business. You're on their radar constantly. If somebody comes up in 6 months and they're moving to South Florida, they'll call me. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but constantly reinforcing those relationships, which is basically the same as follow-up. It's just with your colleagues. You can't just, how many times that you've sat in this room and somebody's griped about the fact that a family member sold a house without them? I mean, that happens all the time. You got to even follow up with your family. You have to follow up. So I know I kept you guys a long time, but I appreciate it. But this E2P stuff is good.
One last question. Did anybody talk about the market, whether it's shifting or?
It's interesting. They did talk about it, but the reality is the numbers actually indicated that it's still good. It's still getting better. And, the shift that Gary talked about last year, it's not really here yet. Some metrics were showing some stagnation, but, it's not a question of if, it's a matter of when. So there will be a shift. But I think with the economy where it was, with interest rates staying ridiculously low, that there's still a lot of fuel on the seller side. I'm sure in certain price points it's kind of leveling out, but it's going to happen. I mean, that's just the cycle of the market. It doesn't matter what Gary or anybody says. The bottom line is you got to be prepared. So I mean, the minute the interest rates start ticking up, and the minute the market starts crashing, which inevitably it'll do once it probably hits 30,000. These are all little. Okay, time to sell. Everything's great. Okay, now everything's terrible. It's not. There's no rhyme or reason any of this. And in 3 days we could be at 20,000, and then everybody gets out, and then they buy it back up to 30,000. Who knows? Nobody knows. And they talked about that. They talked about the people that are basically saying, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Then it doesn't matter. You just got to be prepared. If you're prepared, you don't have to worry about prognosticating anything. So, anything else?
And you can find this information in the state of the company. It's online. You can actually connect, and it's recorded. Everything that it's on the main stage was recorded.
Yeah, every slide, everything is there. I mean, but I'm just giving you the context from which I took it. So, thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.